Okay, so today we are going to learn about some other offerings which are provided by AWS. Yesterday we have learned about Amazon DynamoDB and other database services which are provided by AWS. And today we are going to see some other offerings. So today's lecture is also going to be a theoretical lecture, mostly theoretical lecture. In AWS, there is one service called AWS Snowball. Snowball is nothing but a physical device that can be used whenever you want to transfer a huge amount of data from on-premises to AWS data center, right? So this is the kind of a device which you get generally when you raise a request for getting AWS Snowball. So this is one of the Snowball device. You can get you can request for this device and you will get this device at your own premises. You can connect it in your local data centers. You can transfer the data. Once it is copied, you can ship it back to AWS. Your data will be then copied to Amazon S3 storage. So this is a physical data transfer solution that helps moving terabytes and petabytes of data in or out of AWS center. So whether you want to send in or whether you want to take out your data from AWS. So this can be a useful solution for sending data in terabytes and petabytes. It is secure, tamper resistant. It is secured with KMS 256-bit encryption as well. You can use tracking using SNS topics, that is simple notifications. You will get a text messages on your cell phones. You can also check by shipping labels. You can check where it is in transit. Pay per data transfer job. So whatever data you request for, you will have to pay for that particular data transfer. Use cases can be like large data migrations to cloud. It can be also be used for disaster recovery. So if you are having most of your data which is residing at your own locations or own data center, you can have one copy of that particular data to AWS cloud, and then you can set up a replication kind of a thing. How we can request for Snowball? So here you can see request Snowball device from AWS console for delivery. Install Snowball client on your server. Connect Snowball to your server and copy file using the client. Ship back the device when you are done. Data will be loaded in S3 buckets. Snowball is completely wiped out once data is transferred. Tracking is done using SNS, text messages, and AWS console. So you can track this using text messages, and you can also see the tracking details in AWS console. Then there is one more device called AWS Snowball Edge. Edge is nothing but it is the same device, but there is a feature called computing capacity. So while your data is being transferred, you can have some kind of computation running on that particular device. So it is a physical computer with CPU, with RAM, and the storage capacity. Snowball Edge adds a computational capability to a device. It starts with 100 TB capacity, storage capacity. You can choose storage optimized device as well as compute optimized device. You can also have your predefined Amazon Linux machine image to be installed on this particular device, and then you can have your computation running on that particular device. So while it is in transit, your computation will still keep on running on that particular device. It supports a custom EC2 AMI so that you can perform processing on the go. It also supports Lambda function. So you can also write a Lambda functions, and it will also support that particular functions for your processing. It is very useful to pre-process the data while it is moving. So if you want to run some kind of pre-processing when your data is in transit, so this is the device which you can opt for. Instead of going with Snowball, you can opt for Snowball Edge. Use cases are it is used for data migrations. It can be for IoT, machine learning, etc. Then there is one more feature called AWS Snow Mobile. Snow Mobile is nothing. It is kind of a similar service as a Snowball Edge, wherein it is used for transferring exabyte of data. So that is 1 exabyte is equal to 1 petabyte, and 1 petabyte is equal to 1000 terabytes. So here you can see there is one truck which is there as a Amazon Snow Mobile. So if you have a huge data in exabyte, then you can opt for this Snowball service. Snow Mobile has 100 petabytes of capacity. Better than Snowball if you want to transfer more than 10 petabytes. So if you are having more than 10 petabytes of data, then this is the perfect solution for you to opt for. Then in storage solutions, we can have a hybrid storage kind of an architecture, wherein some part of your storage resides on your on-premises data center or your on-premises locations, and some part of your data resides on AWS data centers or AWS cloud. Use cases can be like for IT security reasons, like we keep certain amount of data stored in our local data centers, in local computers or local hard drives, and some data we store it on a cloud, right? So there are many different requirements. You can also opt, use cases can be other use cases can be, it can be a compliance or regulatory requirements, that there are some regulations which do not allow you to keep your data stored anywhere in a shared storage or on a shared cloud platform, right? So for such things you need to opt for a local storage as well. So these are the use cases when you can opt for this kind of hybrid storage. Then there is one service in AWS called AWS Storage Gateway. Storage Gateway is basically, there are three types of gateways. Can be used as a bridge between your on-premises and AWS cloud. So the first is File Gateway, which is used for file server access, or you can have it as a network file system server. Second is Volume Gateway, which is a volume block storage, or you can use it as iSCSI drives. The third one is Tape Gateway, which is same as virtual tape solution. I mean the tape library which you generally use on premises for backup. Same thing you will get it in on cloud. So that is called as a tape gateway. You can opt for tape gateway as a services, where you can the backend services will be used is Amazon Glacier, and backup with iSCSI as well. So whatever solution you use for backup, whatever software you use for a backup, you can use AWS Tape Gateway as a solution, and you can create a link between your AWS and on-premises, and you can start using virtual tape solutions, which is provided by AWS. So let us go in details what file storage gateway is. So file storage gateway, configured S3 buckets are accessible using NFS and SMB protocol. So same like when we go and deploy a file server in local environment using Windows Server, and we are accessing that particular file server using SMB protocol. And if you have an S drive, then we go and access it using NFS network file system. So same way we can opt for file gateway. So here you can see there is one application server. It is connecting to file server file gateway, and file gateway is communicating over HTTPS endpoint to S3. So your data will be stored in S3, but when you go and access that particular documents or data from your local on-premises application server, or from any server, any system, that communication happens generally between your system and with the file gateway. And file gateway then communicates over HTTPS endpoints to S3, and then from S3, if you have written some kind of rule, then it will go to S3 IA infrequent access, or it will move to Amazon Glacier. It supports S3 standard, S3 infrequent access, S3 one zone infrequent access. You can restrict using IAM roles. Recent access data is being cached in the file gateway server, right? So this will be one server which will be residing on your on-premises. So whatever recent data which is being accessed regularly, that will be cached in this particular file gateway server. Can be mounted on many servers. You can mount this particular drives on as many services as you want. Then there is a volume storage gateway. The block storage using iSCSI protocol backed by S3. So the hard drive which we are using in EC2 instances, right? So same block storage can be used, can be attached to your current on-premises server as a iSCSI protocol. It is backed by the S3 solution provided by AWS. Backup backed by EBS snapshot, which can help you to restore on-premises volume. So you can also take EBS snapshot, and that will be stored in volume gateway, and through volume gateway it will get stored in S3 buckets. Cache volumes, again the volumes get cached in the volume gateway. Why it is used? It will be cached just because we get low latency access to most recent data. Store volume, entire data set is on premises, scheduled backup to S3. So your volume is generally stored in your data set is stored in on premises, and you can schedule the backup on S3. Then there is a tape storage gateway. Tape storage is a virtual tape library. Tape gateway can be used as a virtual tapes instead of a physical tapes for backup purpose. So you can opt for any kind of a solution, backup solution, and then you can connect tape gateway, which will be residing on your on-premises on-premises data center, and that tape gateway will communicate over HTTPS to virtual tapes stored in AWS S3, and archive tapes stored in Amazon Glacier. Backup data using existing tape-based process and iSCSI interface. Works with leading backup softwares vendors. So whichever vendors you take, all the leading software vendors support this kind of architecture for backup. Then there is a service called AWS Athena. Athena is a serverless service to perform analytics directly against S3 files. So whatever files we are storing in S3 bucket, we can run analysis, we can run analytics on that particular bucket. All the files stored in that particular bucket, we can run analytics on that using AWS Athena service. It uses SQL language to query files. It has JDBC and ODBC drivers. It is charged per query and amount of data scanned. So whatever your bucket size is, whatever data is being scanned, it is charged based on that, and how many queries you run, it is being charged on that. Use cases can be like business intelligence. So if you want to run some kind of business intelligence from that particular files or data stored in that particular bucket, then that can be one of the use case for an analytic purpose, for reporting purpose. Analyze the query, VPC flow logs, ELB logs, CloudTrail logs. So whatever logs you store in that particular bucket, or whatever data you store in that particular bucket, you can run analytics using AWS Athena service. Then there is a service called AWS CloudFront. CloudFront is a content delivery network. So system of distributed servers that delivers web page and other web content to users based on geographic locations of the users, the origin of web page, and the content delivery server. So for example, I am sitting in India, I am hosting a server, a web application server in US, right? And there is only one server currently being there in US region. When I go and access, my user base is across the globe. So my user is in India will access that particular website, and the user sitting in Australia will also access that particular website, right? So what happens is when I go and request that particular web page, it will take some time based on the region, because my request is traveling from India to US just to grab that particular page, right? Grab that particular information from that application. So my request is traveling from India to US. So it is a time consuming because it is traveling along. I mean, there are a lot many routers, there are a lot many hoops coming in between. So your latency is higher, and based on your latency, your page load time will be much higher, right? So we can opt for the services called CloudFront. CloudFront is a service wherein it will distribute, it will use Amazon global infrastructure, global edge locations. It will store all your data like images, or maybe the static content or dynamic content. It is stored in different edge locations, right? So that data, when you go and access, the user sitting in India, when he goes and access that particular application or a web page, your your request will not travel all the way to your origin server, which is sitting in US, right? So whichever is nearest location available. So for example, if there is an edge location of AWS in India, so your request will be served from India location itself. Your request will not travel to US region, right? So this is how it helps when you configure a CloudFront as a server or CloudFront as a services. Edge locations is a location where the content is being cached. So there are different edge locations. Here you can see there are different edge locations where your data is being cached. Origin is the origin of all the files that CDN will distribute. So the origin server from where your data is being collected and it is being distributed to all the different edge locations. So that is called as an origin. The origin can be S3 bucket, it can be EC2 instance, it can be Elastic Load Balancer, it can be Route 53, right? Distribution is a content delivery network which consists of a collection of edge locations. So there are the group of servers or group of edge locations called as a distribution. Used to deliver your entire website, including dynamic, static, streaming, and interactive content using global network of edge locations. So AWS Global Network is being used to distribute your website content, including dynamic, static, streaming, or interactive content, which is being stored in different edge locations. So wherever your users sit, the nearest geographical locations will serve that particular request. Request will be automatically routed to a nearest edge locations, which is equal to low latency and performance improved. Web distribution can be used for website, and RTMP is used for media streaming. So if you are using media streaming content and you want to use CloudFront as a services, then you want to opt for RTMP. And if you are using for website, then you need to use web distribution. Then there is a service called Amazon CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a monitoring services to monitor your AWS resources as well as application that runs on AWS. CloudWatch can monitor most of the AWS services as well as your application that runs on AWS. Some of the services shown below, you can go and monitor compute, EC2 instance, auto scaling groups, Elastic Load Balancer, Route 53. It can be, you can also go and monitor storage and content delivery network, EBS volume, storage gateways, CloudFront, right? So we will see what we can monitor. CloudWatch provide metrics for every services in AWS. So metrics are available to monitor different parameters like instances as below. So host level instances, I mean the host level metrics are CPU. You can go and monitor CPU performance, network, throughput, input and output, disk, read and write. There are again different parameters in disk as well, in network and CPU. Status check. So these are all the parameters which are there available for host level metrics. Same way, when you go and check different metrics available for different services, you will find lot many metrics which are available. You can also go and create your custom metrics. So for example, here in host level, you will not find memory, right? So for memory, you can create your own metric and you can start monitoring the same memory metric in Amazon CloudWatch. Default monitoring is at 5-minute interval, which is free. So whenever you go and create an instance, it will keep on monitoring your services. For example, it will go and monitor CPU, network, disk, and status check every 5 minutes. You can go and enable detailed monitoring as well, but detailed monitoring is again chargeable. If you are using free tier account, then free tier allows you to have 10 detailed monitoring metric, right? So make sure that you do not go beyond this 10 detailed monitoring metric in free tier. And detailed monitoring will be 1-minute interval. CloudWatch alarm can be created, which can trigger notifications as well as action which you define. So CloudWatch alarm can be used to trigger any kind of events. Events can be like sending a email alert, sending a text message, or the action which you want. For example, I want to trigger an auto scaling group. so that there are two instances running. I want four instances to be running when this alarm is triggered, right? So that is the kind of action which you can define when there is any kind of alarm which gets triggered. Define your custom metric to monitor the same in CloudWatch. So as I said, you can also define your custom metric, and that can be monitored in the CloudWatch. So all the logs will be shared, all the logs will be captured in that particular CloudWatch, and you can see that particular metric, the graph in CloudWatch itself. Then in Amazon CloudWatch, there is a feature called dashboard. So dashboard is nothing but a customized view. So you can go and create your custom dashboard, wherein you can select which metric you want to be there displayed in your custom dashboard, right? So you can set up your dashboard for a quick access to your metrics. Dashboards are global. Again, that is not region based. Dashboard can include graphs from different region. So you can have, if your architecture is distributed across different region, you can create a single dashboard, and you can map a graph of different region to a single dashboard. You can change the time zone and the time range of your dashboard. So as per your time, as per your region, you can change your time zones, and you can set the time range in that particular dashboard. You can set up automatic time refresh time. So when you set up a dashboard, it will automatically refresh, and it will give you a present data, right? So you can define that particular time, like how within how much time it should refresh. The costing is 3 dashboards are for free, and for up to 50 metrics you can map in that particular dashboard. And if you go beyond that, it will be $3 per dashboard per month. Then in Amazon CloudWatch, there is a feature called logs. This is generally used as a centralized logging system, and it can also be called as a syslog server, wherein all your logs will be stored in a central location in Amazon CloudWatch logs. Application can send logs to CloudWatch using SDKs. So you can use SDK. If you're using EC2 instance, you can use SDK or API to call CloudWatch, and you can store all the application logs, and you can store that logs in the CloudWatch. CloudWatch can collect logs from various different services of AWS. So there are tons of services in AWS, and that can be used, that can collect, that can have different kinds of logs, and that logs can be stored directly to CloudWatch logs. And that can, again, if you want that logs to be stored for a longer period, then it can be exported to S3 buckets, and then from S3 buckets you can go and store it to Amazon Glacier as well. Stream to Elasticsearch cluster for further analytics. So if you are using Elasticsearch cluster, and if you want to do further analysis of that particular logs, you can have your Elasticsearch in place, and you can use that logs for doing analytics of all the logs which is stored in Amazon CloudWatch. Then there is a service called Amazon Cloud Trail, so which is also called as auditing service. So Amazon Cloud Trail increases visibility into your users and resources activity by recording AWS Management Console action and API calls. So whatever things you perform using API, using console, everything is getting logged in AWS Cloud Trail. So if you go and access your account, that will be logged in AWS Cloud Trail. If you go and create an account, if you go and create an EC2 instance, if you go and populate some of the services, everything will be logged in AWS Cloud Trail. You can identify which user and account requested for AWS services, from which IP address, from which requests are made, and when. So this is something which is found in AWS Cloud Trail. If you want to go and do some kind of audit and want to find out who has done what, then this is the service which you can go and check. That is it for today. I will go and log into AWS console, and we'll see some of the things. We'll show you how we can go and for Snowball. So here is a service called AWS Snow Family. You can go and click on that, import and export. There is an option. You can create a job. What kind of job? Snowcon, Snowball, Snowmobile. So there are different options available. You can start with Snowcon, which is a smaller. If you want to go bigger, then you can go with Snowball. And if you want more data, then you can go with Snowmobile, right? So there are different families available. You can go and create a job here. Create a job, select a country from which you are requesting. Import data into S3, export data from Amazon S3, or local computer and storage. So whatever type of job you need, you can select that, click on next. Shipping address, existing address. If you have existing address, then you can select that. If you want to add a new address, you can add that. Shipping detail, 1 day shipping, 1 business day, 2 day shipping. Just click on that, fill all the details, and that device, whichever device you choose, for example, Snowcon, Snowmobile, or Snowball, that device will be delivered at your doorstep. You can transfer your data, upload your data to the device, and you can send it back to AWS. Once it reaches to AWS, it will transfer your data to a requested bucket or requested account. Then there is a service called Storage Gateway. From here, you can go and opt for different gateway services. In this, you can click on Get Started. Here, you will find three different gateway type: File Gateway, Volume Gateway, and Tape Gateway. When you click on File Gateway, just click on Next. Here, you will get the image, and that image needs to be downloaded and installed on your particular local infrastructure. So if if you are having VMware infrastructure at your on premises, then you can go with VMware, Hyper-V, Linux KVM, Amazon EC2 instance, hardware appliance, and then you can configure that, and you can have a file gateway services running at your own data center, and that will communicate over AWS to S3 bucket. Same way, you can also opt for volume gateway. Again, in volume gateway, there are two options: cached volumes or stored volumes. Cached volumes is like low latency access to your most recently accessed or most recently used data. Stored volume is on-premises data with scheduled offsite backup. So if you are having on-premises data and you want to take offsite backup, then you can go with stored volumes. You can go and select tape gateway. So you can back up your data to Amazon S3 and archive it to Amazon S3 Glacier using existing tape-based process. Okay, so I am there in my bucket. I will just make it public first. Let me just try to. Okay, so I am there in my Jabra bucket. I will create one AWS CloudFront distribution, and the backend will be my S3 bucket, right? So I will copy the ARN of this particular bucket and will use it. go to CloudFront service, select create a distribution, click on create distributions, and here you will get two different options, whether it is a web distribution or whether it is a media streaming distribution, right? So we will go with web distributions, click on get started. Origin name, I will choose my bucket name, my Jabra bucket, which is my Jabra bucket s3.amazonaws.com. Origin path, origin path, origin ID is S3 bucket. Restrict bucket access, if you want to restrict, you can restrict, yes or no. Connection attempt will be 3, maximum connection will be 3, and timeout will be 10 seconds. On which protocol you want, HTTP, HTTPS, if you want HTTP to be redirected to HTTPS, or if you want only HTTPS. Then what method, whether it is get head options, or all the options, right? We will go with the default. Cache policy, you can go and change your cache policy, or if you want to go and create your custom policy, you can go and create a custom policy. I hope you know what caching is, right? Origin request policy, you can go and check the policy details, or if you can go and select the predefined policies, or you can go and create your existing your custom policies. Smooth streaming, yes or no. Restrict viewer access using signed URLs, yes or no. Compress object automatically, yes or no. Lambda functions, if you want a Lambda function to be associated to that, you can go and select that. You want real-time logs of that, you can click on enable, and you can store that particular logs in. You can go and create a configuration for that. So here there is a different options, creating a real-time log. You can give it a name, sampling rate, field. You can choose which field you want to be logged. Currently, there are only 3 fields which are being selected: timestamped from the customer IP, time to first byte, and this will be a Kinesis service endpoint, the data stream where your data will be streamed live. Your data will be live, visible there, live logs. So Kinesis can be used as a service to stream your data live. Then distributions, if you have any distributions available, you can choose that. This distribution is like the CloudFront distributions which we are going to create, right? So this is a distribution. Price class, all edge locations for best performance, or you can choose your defined. So if your application is not going to be used across the globe, and it will be only like US, Canada, Europe, then you can go and choose this particular regions. If you want to distribute it US, Canada, Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa, then you can go and choose this, or you can choose all the edge locations. So it will go and choose all the available edge location across the globe. So it is always recommended, if your application is global and it is being accessed everywhere in the world, then always go and use this. If you want to have web application firewall in place policy, you can go and have your WAF policy. So again, WAF is again a different service which is available in AWS. You can go and choose that. So when we go and create a distribution, we will get one DNS name by AWS. If you want to go and use that particular DNS name, you can go and use that. Or if you want to give a custom domain name, you can go and give your alternate DNS name as a CNAME. Then you can go and choose SSL certificate. So whenever you go and create a distribution, it can be default SSL certified, and it will be a CloudFront certificate. So by default, all your endpoints will be HTTPS. If you want to go and use custom SSL, then you can go and select the custom SSL. You can request or import a new certificate from ACM. Again, ACM is a different service of Amazon, which is Amazon Certificate Manager. supported HTTP version, which version you want, HTTP 2, HTTP 1.1, 1.0, default root object, standard logging, yes or no, IP basics if you want to enable, yes or no, distribution state, enabled or disabled. Just by selecting all these options, click on distributions. Once the distribution is created, you will get one DNS name. When you copy that DNS name, enter it in your web browser, your application will be served, or your data will be served from your backend. I mean, whatever your backend is, for example, your backend is S3 bucket, so your data will be fetched from S3 bucket to all the distribution global edge locations, and your data will be served from the edge locations. And if you go and have backend services as a EC2, then your data will be fetched from EC2, and it will be distributed to all the edge locations, and your data will be fetched from the edge locations. Then let us go and see CloudWatch. So here, this is a main dashboard of CloudWatch, and here, whenever you go and deploy any services, you will find different metrics which is by default being monitored at every 5-minute interval of time. You can go and enable detailed monitoring. Whenever you want to go and enable detailed monitoring, you can go and enable that. So here in the dashboard sections, you get alarms, wherein if any alarms is in trigger state, you will find it here. If any alarm which is in OK state, and you will find it here. And if it is insufficient, wherein data is not okay, then you will find it in insufficient state. You can go and check your billing details as well in this billing logs, billing alarms if you have any. So for example, you can also go and create a billing alarm. You can go and click on create alarm, estimated charges, maximum period of 6 hours, or custom. Let us go and select okay, I need to choose in a second, right? So for example, if you are going and using a service, and I don't want to go maximum of $1 per day, right? So here you can define $1. So what it will do is it will keep on checking your daily usage. So if daily usage goes beyond $1, then whatever action you want to define, you can go and define that action, right? Click on next. Action can be like, you want to add auto scaling action, if you want to add EC2 actions, you want to add notification that it should send out an email to me, then it will send out an email notification that your estimated charge for today is more than $1 reached, right? So this is how you can set up the alarm. Same way, this is for the billing alarms. If you want some other alarms to be set, then you can go and click on alarms, create alarm, graph metric. You can choose which metric. So here you can see there are different metrics which are available. Let me just show it to you. Okay, so now I hope it is visible. So here you can see there are different metrics, application metrics. So here in application ELB, you can see there are 162 metrics which are already there. EBS, you can go and monitor 189 metrics, EC2 373 metrics, ELB 58. So let us go and check EC2. Click on EC2. Here again, there are two different types, by auto scaling group or per instance metric. Per instance will be like per EC2 instance. Click on that. Here there are different metric name. So for example, I want to monitor CPU credit usage, CPU credit balance, okay? Or if I want to go and monitor CPU utilization, okay? So here it is CPU utilization. Click on that. I want to monitor CPU utilization, okay? I will select this metric. I will create an alarm for that. So average, 5-minute interval of time, static entry. If it is going beyond 80%, click on next. I want a notification to be sent on my email ID. So this is how you can go and set up the alarm, right? Same way, if you want for memory, you can go and set up for memory. For disk, you can go and set up for disk. If you want the action to be taken for auto scaling group, like if my CPU utilization goes beyond 80%, then it should add one more instance to it so that my application performance does not impact my users, right? So this is how you can create the alarms, and you can define the actions for that particular alarms. Same way, you will get the option for logs. You can go and click on logs. You can create different log groups. I think in last 2 to 3 days back, we have created a log group, and we have checked how we can get the logs in that particular log groups. So this practical we have already done. So here, yeah, we have created it for my VPC logs, and whatever VPC logs are being created in VPC, that logs are getting stored in CloudWatch logs. Same way, events, you can go and click on events, you can get started, you can create any kind of events. It can be a scheduled event, like on weekends, I want more instances. So you can have a schedule pattern, or you can go with EC2, for example, EC2 event type. All the events, if you want notification for all the events, you can go and click on all the events. So you can select all, you can select the different options available in the event type. For example, let me choose okay, EC2 instance state change notification. So here, this instance state is like my current instance state is running. So if I go and change my instance state to stop, I should get a notification, right? So there is one instance running. Currently, it is in a running mode. If I go and click on shutdown, the state will get changed from running to stop, right? So in that case, I should be getting a notification that someone has done a mischief with my infrastructure or with my server, right? So that kind of notification you can get here. You can select which particular state you want the notification. If it is in a running state, or if it is in a shutdown, stopped, stopping, terminated, you can get a notification based on that. So this is how you can go and create events. Then there are other different service lens, container insight, Lambda insight. So if you are using Lambda functions, you can go and analyze your Lambda functions. Synthetics, even I am also not aware about synthetics. I will go and check and we'll get back to you on synthetics. Container is for your Docker. If you're using Dockerized containers or Kubernetes, you can go and check your analytics on container insights. Metrics, as we have seen all the metrics which are there, you can go and explore which are the metrics available, and you can define your alarms based on the metrics, or you can, if you want, you can create your custom metric as well. Dashboard, here there is an option, you can go and create a dashboard. Let me just create a dashboard, my dashboard, click on create dashboard. So your dashboard will be created. Now what I want line next for a metric. For which metric? I want it for EC2 by, for instance, CPU utilization, right? So I'm just selecting that, create a widget. So here it will be visible. So this is how you can go and create your dashboard. You can add whichever metrics you want, and that metric will be displayed in this particular dashboard. So this will be a customized dashboard for you, a customized dashboard which is available for you and your team, wherein you can go and monitor your entire uh, fleet of applications or different services which you want to monitor from a single page. CloudTrail. So CloudTrail, we have seen CloudTrail is an auditing service where what users are doing, what actions people are taking, what kind of services they are opting in AWS, what actions they are doing, whether they are starting an instance or they are stopping instance, which services they are going into. So everything will be logged in this particular CloudTrail service, right? Here you can capture, record the activity which is being performed in AWS using API or using console. You can click on create trail. You can create a trail, management events. You can create a trail. So now, once you create a trail, it will start logging all the events. That is it for today.